lest they multiply. And it come to pass that when there falleth any war, they join also our enemies and fight against us, and so get them out of our land. The plan to retain slaves. Question. Mary, has it ever occurred to you that every one of your types who's met an untimely death was really a mass assassination attempt to destroy you? Let me do it one more time. John Tavius, has it ever occurred to you that everybody who's kind of like you, like your type, who has met an untimely death, was really a mass assassination attempt by the devil to destroy just you? Okay. Marinate on that. The king of Egypt, the Pharaoh, is quoting Paul in Exodus 1:9 when he says, "And he said unto his people, Behold, the people of children of Israel are more and mightier than we." Conditional statement. The only time people speak negatively of you is when they know you are greater than they are. Let me say that one more time, because this is going fast. The only time people speak badly about you, conditional statement, this is conditional, is when they know you are greater than they are. It's right here in Exodus. I'll show you again. Listen. Pharaoh knows that the children, come, let us deal wisely with them, the armies of Pharaoh. Lest they multiply and come to pass, when they fall into war, they join our enemies and fight against us and get all of the slaves out. What Pharaoh doesn't mean to be telling us is the same place in where is it? Is it Romans chapter 8:27? He may as well have said, "Nay, in all things they are more than conquerors than we are." Even though they are enslaved. I'm trying to help 2 or 3 people. Even though you are enslaved, the people over you, your boss, your supervisor, some crazy person in the family or something like that, think they got rule over you. The reason they conspire to pull numbers and other people in the community or on Facebook, they're trying to get more likes than you. They're just trying to talk. The reason they do that's the same reason Pharaoh did here in early Exodus. Come, let us reason together to build some kind of war or something, because they are mightier. Romans 8, that's the Old Testament. Romans 8 says, "Nay, in all these things we are more than conquerors." Pharaoh, in his sin, understood that. Think of it. And I led off with a conditional statement. If a person or groups speaking negatively about you, while doing so and conspiring to build their numbers, their army, their taskmasters, their social media, it's clear and present signal that they are aware that they alone cannot take you. Y'all getting that? They are aware that they themselves cannot pull you down. So they conspire to pull other people into their coup to get at you. That's what happens. They feel inferior. We're not suggesting that everybody who says anything bad about you is inferior to you. That's just wrong theology. It is to say when people are anti-you and they feel like they got to galvanize numbers against you.
Right.
Now we're dealing with another thing. They are aware that they alone at the school cannot take you down. So they get pods of people to say things. I'm trying to help 2 or 3 people that say things about you because they are clear they cannot take you alone. Okay, let's hasten. Let's hasten, Pastor. Listen. Exodus 1:16 says, "And Pharaoh said, when you do the office of midwife," he's talking about the ladies of the Egyptians who deliver the babies. When it's time for a baby to be born, the midwives show up. This is Pharaoh speaking. And he said, when you do the office of midwife to the Hebrew women and see them upon the stools, because that's how they had their babies, upon the stools, if it be a son, niece, then kill him. But if it be a daughter, then save her alive. If you move from there to 2:6, Exodus 2:6, it says, and when she had opened it, we're talking about 2:6. We're talking about Nefertiti, Pharaoh's daughter. And when she had opened it, she saw the child, and behold, the baby wept. This is Moses. And she had compassion on him, and said, "This is one of the Hebrew children." Nefertiti never should have found a Hebrew baby in a basket because Pharaoh had ordered all those to be killed. Gwen, are you with me? She never should have found the baby on the river because Pharaoh had already ordered that all the babies be killed upon the stools. And here's the interesting thing. Y'all gonna find this really interesting. Been in the Bible the whole time, but you just kind of glossed over it. Exodus 16:19. These are the midwives talking. Exodus 1:16. Them upon the stools, kill all of them upon the stools before the baby can really draw his first breath. Verse 17 says, but the midwives feared God and did not as the king of Egypt commanded them, but saved the men children alive. This is interesting, Linda. And the king of Egypt called the midwife. Pharaoh called the women back in and said unto them, why have you not done what I asked you to do? And why have you saved the boys of the Hebrew children? And the midwives said unto Pharaoh, because the Hebrew, this y'all black women, because the Hebrew women are not as the Egyptian women, for they are livelier and are delivered ere midwives come in the room. What the women said, they were told to kill the babies, but them black women would drop me where I stood. If I did anything, I would carry that baby 9 months. Now here in the room, you gonna try to, I drop them, just had a baby. Those women will drop us where we stand. We ain't having no parts of that. And then she ends the verse by saying, the truth is, before we can even when we get word that she about to have a baby and we leave the palace to head over there, them boys they sucking their mother's breath. They already here. We can't do nothing with them Hebrew women. That's right there in the Bible. Strong. You've been through a lot, but that's for a purpose. So much so that the Egyptian women knew that if they tried anything, even though you just had a baby, you dropped them where they should. That's power. That's power. Yeah, that's power. That's power. That's power. Where my glasses at? Yeah, that's power right there. I'm just showing you what's in. I gotta move. I gotta hit some glue. Okay, yeah. So here's the interesting thing, y'all. Listen. It speaks to the fact that the Egyptian women, unpacked, were smarter than the Egyptian men. I'll tell you how. They went back to Pharaoh knowing he could have killed them right where they stood. Because I told you to kill those boys, and y'all didn't. So right there in the palace, when he called them in, nephew, he could have killed all those midwives right there. But it speaks to the fact that the women, y'all gonna love this lady, were smarter than the men of Egypt. I'll tell you why. If you hasten from there on to Exodus chapter 14, verses 19 to 27, Exodus 14, what you find is when Pharaoh asked the women to kill the Hebrew boys, they said those women would drop us where we stood. We're not doing that. Find somebody else. But the same Pharaoh at the Red Sea, Mama Dirt, the same Pharaoh ordered the men and the husbands and the sons and nephews of those same women to charge into the sea after God angel opened up the sea for the children of the promise. And when Pharaoh said, charge, go get them. Now the women said, we ain't having nothing to do with trying to kill them, baby. But the men raced into the sea. It speaks to the women being smarter than the men. They went to Pharaoh and said, we're not doing that. If Scotty and I had been at the Red Sea, when God opened it up for them people. And he said, Char, me and Scotty would still be standing at the sea next to him. I'm not going in there. That's not for us, nephew. That's for them people. We've lived here all our lives. We ain't never seen the sea open up like that. Now you want us to ride our chariots into that? You on your own? You got that? If you can catch me and Scotty, our chariot, we probably would ride together. Our chariot would be going back toward Egypt. If you can catch me, nephew, you can have me, Pharaoh. But I'm not going to that sea behind them chosen people. The women of Egypt, Angel, were smarter than the men. No, sir. That have nothing to do with the destruction of those children. Those women would drop us where we stood, Macuna. But when he told the men go into the sea, they went. Which is why I had Kyra sing, my man's gone now. Ain't no use of crying. Because all the women of Egypt were singing that song when Pharaoh got back by himself. Because all the men were dead. Okay, that's why I had, now you know why she sang that little classical Broadway beat. And that's why that my man's gone now. Ain't no use in crying. Let me hasten, y'all. Let me hasten. Y'all still with me? Yeah. Okay, scripture. Exodus 2:3. Exodus chapter 2, verse 3 says, this is Moses' mother, Yoshabel. Everybody say Yoshabel. Yoshabel. And when she could no longer hide that baby, she took him for an ark of bulrushes, a little basket, and she dabbed it with slime and pitch. Can't you see her crying? She knows she getting ready to send her newborn baby away till she don't even know where. But she in the woods by the river grabbing sticks to make a little basket to put her baby in, to send down the Nile. And she laid the child therein. And she laid it in the flags by the river break. She couldn't hide that little boy because he was crying louder. About 3 months old. Linda, correct me. I don't want to tell no lie before the people of God. About 3 months old. He was starting to cry and try and move around, and she couldn't keep him hid in the little slave hut. She couldn't keep him. And so she went down by the river and got these sticks and weaved it. I could see her crying through her tears, weaving this reed over that reed, making sure it was tight so no water could get in the basket, so her child would float to wherever God would take her. And she took that baby down to the river. Let's talk a little bit about, okay, so now we're going to have class.
Ring.
I always tell GMC, when I say we're going to have class, you make it sound like a bell, like it's time to change classes. Now we're going to have class.
Ring.
Thank you, GMC. Y'all getting it, boy. Y'all getting it. Listen. The animal kingdom. We're going to have a little bit of zoology unpacked. Zoology 101. The animals that were indigenous or lived at the Nile. Nile crocodiles. I didn't even know there's such thing as a Nile. There are crocodiles and there are Nile crocodiles. Nile crocodiles were indigenous. Hippopotamus were indigenous. Monitor lizards. Dice snakes. Let's see what else. All kinds of venomous spiders were indigenous to the waters of the Nile River and the banks. Moses' mother had the presence of mind to have his older sister Miriam follow along in the reeds as the basket went down the Nile River. And for me, guys, this is symbolic of the Holy Spirit who is in the river, even if you can't see him, he's in the river bank along the edge of your life, following closely to make sure you arrive, Gwen, where you're supposed to arrive. That's what angels do. And for me, Miriam is symbolic of that. Psalm 91 verse 11 says, he shall give his angels charge over thee to keep thee, lest I dash thy foot against the stone. If we bring it to the 20th century, essentially, if Bobby Brown was here this morning, I would have him sing, every little step I take, you will be there, every little move I make. Now nobody will be to... Now don't nobody know the song but me. Don't nobody know every little step. Don't nobody know that song but me. Okay, all right, that's fine. Okay, let me do maybe the young people. Maybe young people, y'all help me out, nieces and nephews. If Ludacris were here this morning, I'd have him sing, when I move, you move. Just like that. When I move, you move. Just like that. When I move, you move. Just like that. When I move. Hey. Oh, anyway, listen. Moses floating along the Nile may as well have been that song. Cousin Willie. When Moses moved, the Holy Ghost moved. Just like that. Every little step Moses took. I will be there. Every little move you make will be. Okay, now y'all got right. That right. So why didn't the animals, this is hypothesis, it's a theory. Why didn't Cousin Willie, the animals who were hungry, nephew, eat Moses? Remember, his mother put him in the basket. He was fed, I'm sure, and dry before she wrapped him in that Hebrew blanket and sent him down the Nile. Why didn't it? He smelled like milk. She fed him. She didn't just put him and send him hungry. Right. She fed that boy till he wanted no more and put him in that basket. Well, the hippopotamus and the Nile crocodile can smell the milk on Moses' breath. He probably burped a couple of times, floated like a cruise. Right. They can smell the milk. Why, nephew, did the animals not eat Moses? Here's a theory. These are the animals, Elder Bruce McCarthy, onto the third and fourth generations of the same animals that got on the ark. Stay with me with Noah. Nobody corralled the animals to get on the ark except the Spirit of God. You and you. 2 by 2, the unclean animals, right, Linda? And then 7 by 7, the clean.
Yes.
Unclean animals, the hogs and pork and those kinds of animals, 2 by 2, went obediently onto the ark. And the clean animals, your chicken, your cows, all of your hawk, your eagle, these animals, whatever, they went 7 by 7 onto the ark. Well, they got instruction from God. The Bible says they uniformly, it wasn't like some mad rush of just wildebeest rush. No, uniformly they went into the ark. Well, the animals that's Genesis story. So when we get to Exodus with this boy floating down this river, those animals were the offspring of the animals that had been on the ark. They knew the voice of God. I'm talking about the animal kingdom. Y'all stay with me. I'm almost done. The animal kingdom knew the voice of God. And probably, just like animals teach like how to go on the river, how to hunt, and how to go this path and eat the grass here and don't eat that, those animals probably talked to the offspring, told the story of Noah. I remember back in your grandfather, and God spoke, and we all went and got on a boat. We had never been on a boat before. And for 40 days, before y'all know the story of Noah. And they told this story generations down. So when that ark sailed with Noah, here come another little ark. Y'all stay with me. Down the Nile River. Here comes another little ark. And those animals, hippopotamus, Nile crocodiles, and all, probably said, wait, I know, let me tell you a story my grandfather told me about the ark. You don't touch the ark. God is doing something. When an ark is moving on water, there's something in their engine that God is doing something special. So those animals probably just stood, like, you know, like if somebody comes to town, dignitary a parade, and somebody comes, and everybody just stands. Look, them animals will probably uniform all up and down the aisle. They remember the story of Noah. Now here comes somebody. God is moving down the aisle.
Yes.
Shut your mouth. Don't you say nothing. That's a hypothesis thing. I don't have anything in the Bible to support that, other than those two stories connecting that way. They're both arcs. That sort of thing. Phenomenal God we serve. Clap your hands at this point. No need to. We're almost done. Listen. Look at here. Pharaoh's daughter. Almost done. Nefertiti was her name. Exodus 2 verses 5 and 6 read this way. And the daughter of Pharaoh came down to wash herself in the river unpat. And her maidens, all of her help girls, walked alongside the river. And when they saw the ark in the flags, which means tall grass, nieces and nephews, when they saw the ark in the tall grass, she sent her maid to fetch it. Verse 6. And when she had opened the ark, she saw the child. And behold, Moses wept. And she had compassion. Everybody say compassion.
Compassion.
The child wept, and she had compassion on him and said, this is one of the Hebrew boys. You know those other famous 3 Hebrew boys. Shadrach, Meshach, and that fire. All these Hebrew boys. Y'all stay with me. Connect the dots. Don't just read the Bible. There are dots that connect here. This was a Hebrew boy. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the fire were Hebrew boys. One of them Hebrew boys. She had compassion on him. So here we are. Her girls find the ark in the reeds. Heard the baby cry, the Bible says. She had compassion. Something about the voice of one called of God. The people of God here. Have you ever been at a church and somebody gets up and sings or does something and you just, nothing happens? And then another person can come to the lectern at a church or sit down in the audience, and when they begin to speak, the Shekinah glory just falls. Something about the voice of one called of God. And you can't explain it. Exodus in the Old Testament, this story right here, Moses crying and the daughter of Pharaoh having compassion. But I'll give you a New Testament story in the other part. Here a little and there a little. Remember when Jesus, that fateful night, when Jesus was about to be crucified and Peter wandered away to blend into the crowd, Elder Brewster McCarthy, near the courts. And when one person asked a simple question, he messed up and answered. Peter would have done better to not say nothing or do sign language. But when he opened his mouth, a bystander replied, yeah, he wanted them disciples. He wanted them, y'all know this story. He wanted them followers of Jesus. He sounds like them. There's something about the voice of one called of God. You can't. Now, Peter went into a whole, hyphenated cuss word, the F-bomb. He dropped every cuss word he could think of to throw them off the scent that he was one of the called. But Lucretha, when God calls you can't disguise your voice to not sound like a child of God. People know that. That's your New Testament reference. Here we go. Exodus 2:6. This is one of the Hebrew children, the daughter of Pharaoh said. Exodus 1:16. The office of the midwives were to kill the Hebrew boys. Exodus 1:22. Every son that is born shall be cast into the Nile River. This freshly bathed daughter of Pharaoh, she smells like perfume, Scotty. I mean, it's like Beyonce right after a bath. Don't say that. This freshly bathed daughter of Pharaoh, I hear you laughing, yo. This freshly bathed daughter of Pharaoh ran from the pool area of the palace up to the living quarters of the same Pharaoh who had just ordered the kill of all Hebrew babies. Here she comes with a Hebrew baby whose mother had just fed him not long before that, milk still on his breath. And she burst through Pharaoh's office doors, unannounced, with a baby cooing in her arms, wrapped in a Hebrew blanket. I mean, because he was still in the blanket his mother put him in. She didn't have no baby blanket. She burst into Pharaoh's office, looked Pharaoh square in the eyes with a Hebrew baby, and said, "Can we keep him?" Nefertiti was a daddy's girl. There's no other way she could have had the courage to go in her father's office, who had ordered the kill of all Hebrew babies, and said, "I want to keep this one. Can I keep this one?" Moses was sent to the promise. Are y'all connecting the dots? He's going to put him on the Nile to escape execution. Put him on the Nile, and where does he land? At the person's house who ordered the execution. Moses was sent to the promise. Stay with me, I'm closing.
Yes, yes.
Sent directly to the corporate headquarters of the prophet. For this was the place the execution order came from. Why be sent there? This is an unfathomable paradox. The answer, Cousin Lucretha? Moses was sent there to lead Pharaoh and his family and all of Egypt, along with them, to the promised land. Y'all thought Moses was just sent to send the children of Israel to the promise. Moses was sent to the problem to bring everybody. Here's an opportunity for everybody to get to the promised land. What? The God who loved Moses and spake with him face to face as a friend loved Moses' older brother, Ramses, every bit as much. God loved Ramses less than he loved Moses? No. God loved the brother, the Pharaoh, every bit as much as he loved Moses. And speaking of brotherly love, had Moses not been raised in that palace, he could have never gone back 40 years later and said, God said, let the people go. Moses couldn't have got into the palace. But because he was born and raised there, he had access to the palace. God had all this in mind. Now lean in. I'm not kidding. I'm going to a close. Can I show you how it is that the problem you have, lean in, the sin problem. Can I show you, Cousin Willie, how the concerns and the difficulties, the unhealthy addictions that you have, God had something to do with? I'm going to say it one more time. Can I show you how the sin problems you have, the unhealthy addictions you have, God has something to do with them? Then they're going to back me up on this. Look at here. Psalm 90, verse 3. I'm going to show you how God has a hand in your unhealthy. Y'all don't like it. Y'all ain't going to go nowhere. No church. Y'all ain't going to never hear this. Y'all may well write this down because you ain't going to go nowhere else in here. No, you're not. Psalm 90, the first verse says, Lord, thou hast been our dwelling place in all generations. If you skip down to verse 3, it says, Lord, thou turnest man to destruction, and sayest, return, ye children of men. A prayer of Moses. That connects right back to Moses. What am I saying? God just said in the book of Psalm 90, God turns men to destruction. Don't take my word for it. Get your Bible. God turns men to destruction and then says, return unto me. Now let me give you an example. When you have a toddler, he's 1 year old. He's trying to stand up on stuff. He wants to walk. You want to teach him to walk. But what you do is you turn in your house and you put the 1 year old right here next to Mama Dirt. And then you watch it. You turned and went away and said, come unto me or return unto me. Come on, little Johnny, or come on, whatever her name is. You know the scale of difficulty. You know they may fall. They will probably not do it the first time. But the point of being challenged to get through the difficulty to the promise is a problem for a 9-month-old that they don't trust. I've never had to do this before. This is strange terrain. Why are you right here not next to me? Come over here and I'll go over there. No, God turns and walks away. Comes way over here and says, now come unto me. And you scared to death. You've already you've seen that. Come to auntie, come to uncle. They scared to come. So you come get me, I'll go. And that's some of you in your life. God has told you to do stuff. And you way over there saying, you come get me and I'll go. No, sir. God wants to wait. But here's the thing about your house. Y'all gonna love this. I'm close. This is the thing about your house. Whenever you're raising a child and trying to teach them to walk, you have cleared all the debris. I'm talking about God, not you. You have cleared all the stuff. Stay with me, Gwen. That might trip them up. If there's a dog in the house, you tell that dog, sit. Don't you open your mouth. I'll drop you where you stand if you move while I'm trying to teach this baby to walk. What am I saying? God has cleared the path, nephew.
Yes.
He's challenging you to do a thing, sending you to the problem, but he has cleared the whole room and told all wildlife, dog, cat, parakeet, whatever you got. If you move, I'll kill you. And the dog, this may be the 20th generation of those that want to know. Your dog, he's some generation down from dogs that want to know. So when God speaks and says, sit, they ain't moving. It's scary for the child to walk. But you're also aware as a parent that if you don't teach them to walk now, when they're a senior in high school, they won't know how to walk across the stage to receive their diploma. At their college graduation, they won't know how. If at 9 and 10 and 13 months, if you don't teach them the difficulty, the problem, to walk through it, they won't be able to walk across the university platform and receive a degree. Your good-looking son won't be able to walk across the, like you'll be holding your 20-year-old son, you'll say, now walk, now I'm going to take you over here so you can holler at this pretty young girl. You can't do that at 19 years old. No, nigga, you got to walk over, you got to walk over there and holler at that pretty young thing. But this starts at 9 months, 11. It's difficult to be sent to the problem. But God knows if he doesn't teach us to walk early. I got you. That whole hack, I got you. Y'all, this is the end. Listen, look at you. The $50,000 question is this. What is the problem that you've been sent to? Just think about it. Don't answer out loud. What is the problem, the addiction, the challenge, the sin issue that you have been sent to? Whatever it is, I've got great news for you. On this last Saturday of September and the first of fall 2021, you were sent to the problem in order to show all others who live where you live how to get to the promised land.
Yes, sir.
That's the only reason you have the sin problems and addictions you have. Like Moses, you have been delivered to Pharaoh's address to show the other people who are just like you. This is the way to the promised land. You're getting ready to argue though, but wait, Pastor Tone. I'm still struggling. I'm still grappling with this. Yes! But now you know, just like the toddler illustration, that God has already cleared the floor for you to get there. He has silenced the wild animals that would like to eat you on your way. Yes, you may fall. I'm trying to encourage you.
Yes.
Get back up again, Donnie McClurkin would say. I've never seen a parent, Aunt Pat, say to their child they're trying to teach to walk. When the child stumbles the first time, I've never heard a parent say, well, that's okay, you can't walk because you failed the first time. That's okay, you just won't walk here. That's okay, you did real. We'll just change your diapers and we'll just do because you can't walk. Because you failed. I've never said that. Get back up again. Get back up again. That's our nature too, because we know it's for their good that they learn to walk. My notes say read Exodus 2:6, so I'm going to read that and we're done. Read Exodus 2:6. And when Pharaoh's daughter opened the ark, she saw the child, and behold, the babe wept. And she had compassion on him. She said, this is one of the Hebrew children. When your alliances, your friends, nephew, open the door, they see your humanity. They see their homeboy. And yet they see something different about you. The ark or the car you arrived in was provided by God. You know that. The cars you people drive, that's a testimony. You don't have to tell me the testimony about when you went to the... I don't need to know all that. The car you drive is a testimony. The clothes you're wrapped in and wearing this morning came out of a closet, out of a house where good thoughts and prayers go up continually, ascending regularly up to heaven. By the way, who do you think it was that woke you up this morning, started you on your way, and followed you into the closet and said, let's wear this? Who do you think that was? Oh, this will go good together. Let's wear this. Who do you think that was that followed you in your closet? So the thing that Moses was wrapped in was apparent to the daughter of nephew that he was somebody special. The clothes you're wrapped in is special. Because it's going in the drawers and in the closets and that sort of thing. Who do you think it was that inspired the mobility of your fingers to run back and forth across that iron? God. So these dregs are anointed. And the life-sustaining milk of your mother's breast is still on your sweet breath today. It is what strengthens and empowers you through the difficulty. And your father or guardian or grandmother who provided for you. You're different. People who see you can see it. As the evangelist Linda can tell you, glowing in purpose, people will ask you, how can I know the peace you know? How can I know the God you know? And then they'll quickly say, because there's too much dirt in my life. I've done too much in my life. It probably won't work for whatever's working for you. Probably won't work. On the contrary, Exodus 2 says, and when she had opened it, she saw the child, and behold, the child wept. She had compassion on him. Compassion is defined by Merriam as sympathetic pity and concern for the suffering and misfortune of others. Cathedral, God has so much compassion for you. It flows like the Nile River, his compassion. Listen, just like when Pharaoh's daughter opened the ark and saw the poor Hebrew baby, Jesus the Christ, the Son of God, looks down past the cross and saw you. Sin saturated, pitiful, and riddled with misfortune. Talk about you. And for every tear you've ever cried, Jesus had compassion. Drew you out of the chilly waters of hopelessness and death and despair. And in the same poor Hebrew garments he found you in, scooped you up in his hands, rushed you upstairs to the living quarters where God sits on the throne, burst through the doors, unannounced, and with you still crying in his arms, his nail-pierced hands holding you tightly. He looked at his father straight in the eyes and said, "Can we keep her?"
Yeah.
Jesus drew you out of the chilly waters of death and despair and loneliness and depression and addiction. Drew you out of the Nile of your life. Ran up from the pool of the cesspool of your life up to the throne where God lives. Burst through the doors of heaven unannounced, and with you close in his arms, looked at his father, who had decreed your death, by the way, because the wages of sin is death. And Jesus knows you sin. But Jesus holding you in the throne room, looking at his father square, just like Nefertiti, saying, "Can we keep her? Can we keep her? Can we hold on to this one? I know what you said about the wages of sin. I know what you said about transgression and addiction and fornication and all. I know what you said about that. But can we keep this one?" But just like Nefertiti was daddy's girl, Jesus is a daddy's boy.
Yeah.
Just like God in every way. Jesus is. And it's hard for God to tell a son who's just like him, "No, we can't keep it." That would be hard for God. So God nodded off, remembering that he would send his son to die for just you in your helpless estate. Just as I am without one thing. Let that thy blood. But that thy blood was shed for me. Was shed for me. And that thou bidst. And that thou bidst me come to thee. To thee. Oh God, I come. Do you see? I come. Sent to the problem. You spent your whole life trying to figure out why you have these issues. The reason is you will have more impact with people. My brother here, Scotty, will have no impact trying to reach the community that I struggle with. He hadn't had that struggle. So he's just somebody shaking the Bible in people's face saying, "Stop doing it. Stop doing that, Lucretha. Stop doing it, Glenn. God, you're going to burn it off. Fire to hell." And they're right. This is no softening up of the Decalogue, the Ten Commandments. No, sir. Wrong church. God meant what he said. But his son, who's just like him, stretched out on a cross he didn't deserve, that we did deserve, by the way. And when he did that, and then scooped you out of the miry clay of the Nile, burst through the doors of God's throne room. Can we keep Mother Dirt? Can we keep Mary? Can we keep the nieces and nephews? Can we keep Lil West, who's on an SAT exam? God, some wisdom. Encourage him, give him clarity of thought. as he takes the scholastic aptitude exam today, while his mother's here sacrificing praise.
Yeah.
Bless! So because he's done all that, we were sent to the problem, but only to show people the way to the promised land. Clap those hands in this place. Clap those holy hands in